I remember being in my yard and probably the trailer park with the Airstream.
Yeah.
I remember hanging up my flip phone and I was like, shit, I think I'm done with wrestling. Shit, and I didn't even know I was gonna. Yeah, didn't know I was gonna do it, but I just cracked open a beer and it was fine.
Wrestling is life. Wrestling is life. Wrestling is life. Is wrestling.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Wrestling is Life is Wrestling with Cody Diener. I am Cody Diener, and I am a professional wrestler. I'm a professional wrestling producer with TNA Wrestling. I'm a professional speaker traveling all across North America, going into schools, conferences, places of business, and sharing my story and all the lessons that I've learned along the way. I'm also a father to 4 wonderful children and a husband to 1 beautiful wife, and I am a podcaster. This is my podcast, and I am the people's choice, I guess. I mean, the people have spoken, and they are letting me take my career wherever it's going to go, not where I want it to go, but where the people want it to go. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, head on over to TNAWrestling.com, get the TNA Plus app, and watch the last couple of weeks of the TNA Wrestling Impact show, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Or you can head on over to my social media at Cody Diener and see all the crazy, wild, and yes, fun things that I'm doing on television with TNA Wrestling. Wrestling is supposed to be fun, and I said this last week. Wrestling is the most fun when it's unpredictable. And what I'm doing right now on TNA Wrestling, with TNA Wrestling, traveling all over the place, doing shows, it's unpredictable because I'm literally letting the fans decide what I should do in each and every moment. And I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know what they're going to tell me to do, but I have to do it because I made a promise to the people that I'm going to let them decide the fate of my career and the fate of my choices, and every decision I make, it's going to be up to them. And it's a shoot. It is. We call it in wrestling, which means it's legit. It's what we're doing. So I don't know what to expect. So, man, it's keeping me on my toes, and it's also unpredictable, not just for the fans, but for me too. Talk about fun, man. Wrestling's the most fun when it's unpredictable. So, yeah. If you want to see some crazy stuff, just check out what I'm doing with TNAWrestling.com. If you want to see some crazy, wild stuff that I've done in the past, you can also see that right now on the TNA Plus app. You can check all that out, TNAWrestling.com, because if you do that, you will see some of the things that I did many moons ago. It seems like yesterday, but it was many moons ago that I did on screen with TNA Wrestling with today's guest, ODB. If you didn't listen to part 1 with ODB, go back, hit stop, hit pause, go download the episode last week and listen to part 1 with my wicked awesome guest, ODB. We were left off on a cliffhanger. We were in the middle of talking about working together in TNA Wrestling, and specifically, we're starting to talk about the pay-per-view match that we had for the TNA Knockouts Championship. We technically won it. Well, she won it in a tag team match against the beautiful people, but I made the pinfall. So I said, wait, I've made the pinfall. I'm the winner. I'm the Knockouts champion. And then madness ensued, and we had to settle the score on pay-per-view, TNA Wrestling. And it's a match that I'm super proud of. It's a match that I've had so many fans ask me about over the years and my thoughts on it. And man, I'm super proud of it. And if you watch the match, it's been many years, but go back and watch it if you haven't seen it, and you'll see why I'm proud of it. The crowd was going absolutely insane, and ODB, she killed it. And she says in this conversation, it's one of her favorite matches and most proud moments in wrestling, and it's her first official TNA Knockouts Championship win as well. I just feel so grateful that I got to experience that along with her. We're in the right starting to talk about that and why it was so special. Here we are for part 2. We're going to be talking about that. But before we hop into part 2, let me not just put over ODB. Let me put over some of my sponsors. Rest When Dead Clothing on Instagram, restwhendead.ca to shop the entire collection. You can get yourself a wicked awesome Cody Diener Signature Series shirt. You can see it in the background if you're watching this on my YouTube page at Cody Diener Podcast on YouTube, or this awesome hat I'm wearing. It's a signature, all part of my signature series. You can also get signature series tees from TNA Wrestling Tag Team Knockouts Champion Jody Threat, as well as another champion, Crazy Steve, the digital media champion. Crazy Steve's got a t-shirt. Both of those are up right now at restwhendead.ca. If you need to crush some workouts and you're having a hard time crushing your workouts, you need some supplements to give you a little bit of a boost, you need to conquer, evolve, and overcome, you can do that at ceofit.ca. Those are my two proud sponsors of this show. Other ways you can support is by going to patreon.com/Cody Diener. You get to the end of today's episode and you're like, man, I need some more of ODB. Well, you can get some more of ODB, an exclusive bonus story only available to my patrons. Sign up for a free trial and listen to the bonus story from ODB. It's crazy. It's wild. It came out of left field, not what I was expecting, but I was so happy that I got that bonus story out of ODB. Whew. It's up right now. That's all I got to say, over at patreon.com/Cody Diener, as well as bonus stories from every single one of my past guests. You can get a cameo with me for you or a loved one at cameo.com/Cody Diener. You can also get yourself the Wrestling is Life is Wrestling with Cody Diener signature t-shirt. Where do you get that? You get that at prowrestlingtees.com/Cody Diener, as well as every single t-shirt I've ever made in my long, illustrious wrestling career. It's all up on my Pro Wrestling Tees store. You can book me for your indie wrestling promotion, an event or signing or seminar. I do lots of stuff on the independent wrestling scene because that's where the true passionate wrestling occurs, and I'm still involved in that, still traveling around the world doing indie shows, and I love it so much. So let me share my love of indie wrestling with you and your indie fed by going to book Cody at CodyDiener.com. That's book Cody at CodyDiener.com. And if I'm available on the day that you got a show, let's do some business together. So hit me up, book Cody at CodyDiener.com. I'm also taking speaking bookings from now and the rest of the school year at conferences, assembly presentations, keynote opportunities, workshops with leadership kids, sports teams, all kinds of stuff that I offer. And if you want to learn more about what I offer in the speaking world, head on over to chrisgrayspeaks.com. That's Gray with an A, chrisgrayspeaks.com. You can learn more and hit me up about maybe bringing me to your youth event or school or place of business that needs a keynote presentation. Now, let's present something to you right now. Let's present the second part of my conversation with ODB. Like I said, where we left off, right in the middle of talking about a very special time in our careers, working together with TNA Wrestling. Let's hop in now and continue the conversation with my friend and definitely yours, ODB.
I think a lot of, like, when we got together, people forgot about the winning a date with ODB. They just saw this and they're like, shit, like going to Woody Woodpecker Land as our first date and stuff like that was classic. Like, it was because TNA didn't really have the characters. I think we were kind of like the first characters to really get on TV. And
I probably told you this, but it's worth saying again, like how much I appreciated, you know, you accepting me as a character, because you were already established. Like, your character was unique into itself. Like, I don't necessarily know, like, it means a lot for you to say we were kind of the first characters, but you were such a defined character on that show, Jess. And everyone knew ODB. You were over as hell. You know, those ODB chants were loud, and like, you were different. You were unique. There was no other knockout like you. So you had put in that work. And then for me to come along and you go, yeah, you can come along and we'll create this thing. We'll have some fun. Let's try it. Like, that was super cool of you to just accept me so fast. That meant a lot to me, Jess.
Cool. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And we had a lot of fun going to Woody Woodpecker Land and just going. Like, we had so much freedom too. That was the really cool thing too.
Because then Vince, and then I started doing the talking trash.
Yes.
We split up after that because I beat you for the title, and then
I
think I remember doing a sit down with Hermie Sadler.
Yeah. You and I did that. And it was like 10 minutes. Like, okay, I'm just gonna ask you some questions, and you guys just talk. And we were like, I think we'd done like 1 or 2 pre-tapes or something, and we're like, we don't even know what we are. And you wants to talk for like 10 minutes answering questions. We're like,
right,
okay. And we're figuring it out as we go, literally in the moment.
I think that was the best. And when we finally had that title shot with me and you, I think that was like classic. And I thank you for being a professional and putting my ass way over for that match. Yeah. I mean, that's one of my favorite matches. Like, I remember it. Like, it's just what you made. Yeah, you sold everything great. We made the match made sense of being what the storyline, because we had a long storyline. Yeah, and you built it with all the other knockouts. Like, just oh my god.
Yeah. I take a lot of pride in that. Like, it wasn't, I think one of the reasons I take so much pride in that match is it wasn't supposed to be a match that got it the reaction that it did.
Yeah.
Like, we freaking rocked it, man. I don't care if it sounds like we're being braggadocious. Like, we had that crowd in the palm of our hand that day. We fucking killed it. And it wasn't expected to be a match like that good with people like, this is just a whatever. This is a comedy match. Hell no. We went out and had that place in the palm of our hand. So that was something that made me happy, was that it wasn't expected to be as good as it was.
We made me go up the top rope. Jesus.
Hell yeah. And when people ask me, like, what are some of my most favorite matches and proud matches, that's one of them. That's one of the top three matches that I say that I'm proud of because of that. And that was that your first knockout title championship? Yeah. That's even cool.
They do say when both me and you won it, you know, they did add that to my thing, but
but your real, like, first true
just built that so much, and I think the crowd was like, beat his ass, he's going, you know, and they weren't sure if, you know.
Right, because that was also, I remember them that was an element that we had working towards us, is that they're like, wait a minute, like, are they actually gonna put this on a guy? So they weren't sure that you were gonna win. And intergender matches happen every weekend on the indies now. That was not a thing when me and you had that.
No. Then we had to work it, because like, I hate, and I've seen it at TNA when you know, the women think they're so tough and they're fighting these guys. But I'm like, you got to make the people relate to you. Like, can you really go and beat a guy up? Or, you know, if a guy punches you, you're probably not going to get up. Or if you pile drive him 4 times.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Right. Well, that was one of and I use our match all the time when I do seminars and I do training. I talk about how you can really make anything mean something as long as you build it properly. And for weeks and weeks, and this is true in life, you can make anything mean something as long as you give it the proper focus. So this is a life lesson too. But I was calling myself the king of the knockouts and saying I could knock anybody out. And the only false finish that I had in that match was I finally punched you in the mouth, and I cover you and you kick out, and the impact zone goes absolutely insane that you kicked out of a punch.
We made it mean something.
That's right. And I was so proud of that. So happy.
And you're still the only one that ever took my finisher good.
That was what my job was. I think that's a thing that gets lost both in the wrestling business and in life. Like, take pride in your job, you know, and don't lose the ego. Take pride, and whatever you're given, do it to the best of your ability.
Yes, exactly. I felt like sometimes I was just given stuff just so I would stop asking, what am I doing? They're like, oh my God, just give ODB something to do. I'm like, all right, I'll take it.
Yeah. And you'll run with it, and you'll end up being the most over on the show. Your name gets brought up a lot when it talks about, you know, there was a WWE women's revolution, but anyone that knows their wrestling knows that the original women's revolution was the Knockouts revolution. you know, and you were in that group of ladies, you know, that was going back to that word we've said a couple times, different, right? You had Gail Kim, you had Awesome Kong, you had you were different,
people,
beautiful people. Everyone had an established character. Is that something that you wear with pride, knowing that you were in that group?
I do. Because I remember, because that was a great time to be in wrestling. And I remember all of us, when we all got there, we traveled the indies for years and years, and a lot of us together, you know, so we all kind of knew each other. And we're like, all right. And so I remember, like, it was that North Carolina was the first ever gauntlet knockout match to crown the first ever knockout. We all got in a circle and said, this is all of us. Like, there's not just one person. This is all of us putting this all together. If it wasn't for every single one of us, this won't be happening. So it was kind of very cool. And it was cool that Traci Brooks and Gail Kim were kind of like the OGs and getting all of us girls together. Because obviously they asked those two, what girls do you think should be part of this? You know, so
I realized that. Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah. What a cool moment to have all you ladies in a circle.
Yeah, I was pretty badass.
And building each other up. That I did not know that. That's a cool moment. That's a history making moment, but a really cool thing that you guys, you know, banded together. Is that?
Yeah, it was just cool too. And then just seeing, you know, Rant and other girls coming in to help the division. Yeah, I know a lot of girls like, oh, someone's new coming in. It's like awesome because we're getting stale. We need some new people here. Like I remember when Mickey James came in, I'm like, oh fuck, this is huge. I want to work her. Tara came in, I'm like, I'm working her. You know, and it's like, you know, and Brooke Adams. I mean, it's just like all these other people coming in. I'm like, this is great. Like I loved it. Like the more chicks coming in, you know.
Yeah. Was that always something that got discussed, or was it between the knockouts, or was that something that was kind of just like always in the back of the mind, or was it always kind of discussed like, no, we got to stay together on this because we know we're valuable. The highest rated segments of the show back in those times was you guys every single time. So like, was that something that you guys, you know, you brought you together as a division? Was that something?
Yeah, I think we're like, let's keep this going. So I remember being in the back, you know, like with the beautiful people, everyone watch each other's segments and matches. Like we were right there with the gorilla position, like, hey, awesome job, and just say, hey, next time do this. You know, we critiqued each other, which was good, you know, and our locker room was great. Like you'd have like maybe once in a while a bad apple come in, but they didn't last long. But
right. Yeah, you just police yourself.
Yeah, you gotta get out of here.
I remember coming into the girls' locker room once because I was coming to find you, and we were going over a segment, and I just I politely like asked if it was okay, and everybody was changed. So I came in, and I remember feeling like, oh shit, like I've just entered their world, and I remember feeling like, oh, I hope they don't think I'm disrespecting them and what they have. And it was actually in that moment that I made a conscious decision that I'm going to work my ass off to help put them over in any way I can. So if I'm wrestling them and I'm putting them over, I'm going to put them over heavy. If Awesome Kong is going to powerbomb me, I'm going to make it the best looking powerbomb I can make it look like, because I had so much respect for you ladies and as a division and as wrestlers. Like some of the best wrestling on the show was the knockouts. It wasn't just like, oh, this is good female wrestling. No, it was just good wrestling, period.
Good, right? Yeah.
Right. And I commend you for that. So you had to work with my crazy ass for a while. Then you kicked my ass. And then, you know, fast forward a little while, you get to work with one of my best friends, not just in wrestling, but in life, in EY. How did that get introduced to you, and how did that make you feel?
I think that is funny because I think it kind of started out with me and you. Like, I really didn't know the whole EY thing was even going to happen. It was basically, again, they had nothing for me. I'm like, how do you have nothing for me? But whatever. And so they put me in guys take team tournament.
Ah, okay.
And then EY was looking for a partner, and they just did it like that day. I think I had no idea what I was doing for the day.
Okay.
Like most of the days, and then I guess we were doing a promo, and EY was acting silly. I'm like, I'm your partner. And he didn't understand that, blah, blah. So he did that. And I remember it was like, we wrestled, because someone was getting fired that day, and we beat them. It was...
Oh, shoot.
LAX. No, not Homicide. No, not them. The other guy. Shit. I forgot his name.
You're like me. My memory's terrible, so don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
They weren't on that long, but so we won the first round.
Okay.
And then afterwards, they put me over, and then they were gone.
Yeah.
And then we wrestled Samoa Joe and Nick. All this.
Damn.
Really? This is gonna be great. And I don't think they wanted to wrestle me. They weren't into the whole character with me and EY. I think they were a little pissed. Yeah. Love them both, but they were not too happy. And I remember just fucking Nick wailing, whipping me into the corner. He's like, "Yeah, right." I'm like, "I'm fine, dude."
Right on. Yeah.
But then obviously we lost that. But I think just and then I didn't think they realized that me and EY's characters were gonna go good, and then we kind of just made it ourselves.
Yep.
Like it just fell into place, like with me and you. Like it just, and then we started doing the whole EY kind of falling for me, and me being, get away, And then all of a sudden we both get a phone call, and we're like, "Yeah, well, you guys are gonna get married." We're like, "Aren't you rushing this thing a little too much?" Like,
right.
Me and EY were nervous because we're like, "This has to be really good."
Yeah.
And I'm afraid they're gonna fuck it up somehow.
Right.
So we made it good, and then with Sarita and Rosita helped out a lot too with that little wedding thing, and it ended up being one of my favorite parts too. It was like, and actually I still have the wedding dress hanging up in my, where is it? Right there.
Oh, there it is. Sweet. Right on. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and then that kind of just took off, and we had fun, and they literally just put a camera on us, be like, "Hey, just get this point across, go." And sometimes they just shake their head. They're like, "Yeah, that's fine, but just leave it."
There's a life lesson there, Jess, in that I think it's so funny. You said, like, oh, the first day, they're like, yeah, they just made the decision that day. You guys are going to work together.
Yeah.
There's a life lesson there in, like, just put your head down, no matter what you're given or handed, like, make it your own, work your ass off, and good things will happen if you just put in the work. Like that angle proves it, because you could have poo-poo faced it and got, "Oh, this is stupid. I don't want to do this. I want to win a knockouts title. Like, give me the belt and let me work in the main angle." You could have done that. People do that, right? Both in wrestling and in life, but you didn't. You decided, screw this, we're going to make this work, and you made it the most entertaining thing on the show.
We're going to be some over motherfuckers here.
Oh yeah, and you were. Right on. So that went on for a while. It ran its course eventually, like all angles do. What led to the end of your TNA career? You had said that a couple times you said, "Oh, they didn't know what to do with me. They didn't have something for me." Is that kind of what led to the end? Like, they didn't know what to do with you, and then you got released, or what was happening there?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think my first, because I left a couple times.
Right.
And I remember it was after EY, and then this is when Hulk and Bischoff came in, and the women's division kind of went in a different direction.
Yes.
And then I was gone for like 6 months. And it wasn't because of those guys. It was because another person in charge.
Right.
And then I came back as like a challenge. I think Madison Rain was having an open challenge. So why not bring ODB back? And then Terry Taylor's like, "Now, this might be a one-off." I'm like, "Fuck off." I'll give you a one-off, bitch. It's like, went out there, crowd, wow, whatever. And Eric Bischoff goes to me, he's like, "Why don't you have a job here?" I'm like, "I don't know, good question." He's like, "I'm making sure you're getting back." So, of course, get back, sign another, couple years. And 2014 that's when like Spike TV dropped. AJ left, a lot of guys left. I think EY even left then. I think a lot of people, because the money was gone.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the contract I had no longer existed anymore. Just went away, I guess. And then I got a new contract, and I was looking at it. I'm like, I don't see any numbers on here. I was like, "No numbers." What the fuck? I felt about this big. I'm like, really? And
Oh, that's
had a talk with Vince Russo. Love him. We still get
Yes.
along to this day.
Yep.
And he called and he's like, man, he's like, we don't want you to leave. I'm like, then, I don't know, write some numbers on this damn contract. He's like,
Sure.
well, where else are you going to go? I'm like, doesn't matter where. I'm going to go down the street and bartend and make more than what you guys are offering me.
Right.
And it was about that. Like, it was about like respect and like what I did for, I'm not saying what I did for that company, but you know, it's not like I was a Joe Blow in that company. And I was just like, this is how you're going to treat, you know, one of your chicks. And I said, Vince, I think it's his time. I think it's time. I don't want to sign this deal for nothing. I'm not a mark for myself. I don't really care about being on TV unless you're going to pay me.
Yep.
So I think just it's time. And then that's when the whole barbecue thing came along. So I think it's so weird because sometimes you just need something to get you out of that journey in life that you're in. Like, I think it was just time for me to, I didn't really know it was going to be kind of the end, my last contract in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I hopped in my Airstream trailer and then just started driving, promoting my barbecue sauce.
Good for you. Hell yeah.
Well,
I find it interesting that what you said to him, you're like, it's just time. Right.
Yeah.
Like some people don't accept that.
It
is the universe or God or whatever it is. It's telling them, hey, it's time to move on. And they don't accept it. They're like, they try to force it. And they're like, no, I'll put my name on this contract. It has no number on it because they're a mark for themselves or whatever. Right. And
this was pretty much my contract.
Right. So it's like, no, you knew that it was time. I think that's important. Like to trust that instinct or that thing in you that's telling you it's time. That's one thing that's really important. And two is the importance of knowing your value. I want to take a pause from our conversation to tell you about today's sponsor, ceofit.ca. Their byline is simple: conquer, evolve, overcome. Do you need to conquer your next workout? Or maybe you've hit a plateau in your exercise game and you need to evolve. Or you're starting to find there's some obstacles in the gym that you can't overcome. CEO Fit will help you conquer, evolve, and overcome any obstacle in your way with their top of the line supplements. Whether it's a pre-workout to help you crush that next cardio session, or man, you did crush that cardio session and you need to fill your muscles back up with some high quality protein, we got that for you at ceofit.ca. There's also creatine, vitamins, test boosters, seasonings, and syrups to make your meal not just tasty but healthy too. Oh, I can't forget, they're not just going to help you work out your muscles. They're going to help you work out your brain. They got nootropics for brain function right now at ceofit.ca. Are you a Canadian that you've listened to commercials like this before and then you jump on the website and realize, wait a minute, this free shipping or cheap shipping that they're talking about doesn't apply to me because I'm Canadian? Well, guess what? ceofit.ca is a proud Canadian company, and we are offering to you Canadian listeners any order over $120, free shipping. Now, you U.S. customers and listeners right now might be going, wait a minute, what about me? Well, I got something for you too. It doesn't matter how big your order is. You might go over there and go, man, I need it all. And you get 10 boxes full of these awesome supplements. It's going to cost you $6. $6. Any size order, anywhere in the United States, $6 in shipping. Not only that, American, with the conversion rate, any price that you see on ceofit.ca, it's going to convert it to US dollars. So everything's going to be even cheaper for my American customers. So you need to conquer, you need to evolve, you need to overcome. Well, there's only one place that you need to go, and that's ceofit.ca. That's ceofit.ca. Good for you for like not devaluing yourself and going, no, I'm I am worth more than this. And like you said, not because, what I did for this company, but no, you have value. And you went and you decided, well, I'll prove that somewhere else. And you prove that you can put your name on a barbecue sauce bottle and people are going to buy it and people are going to buy the meat that you're selling. Like you went and just, fine, if you're not going to value me here, then I'll show you that I'm valuable elsewhere. And you've done that.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people have the balls to do that, Jess. Like,
I think right when I remember being in my yard and probably the trailer park with the Airstream.
yeah.
I remember hanging up my flip phone and I was like, shit, I think I'm done with wrestling. Shit. And I didn't even know I was gonna didn't know I was gonna do it, but I just cracked open a beer and it was fine.
Was that scary? Like was that a scary moment once you realized that?
No, I was kind of weird. I was almost kind of relieved.
Interesting.
Because I think with the whole TNA thing towards the end, it was like, are you guys using me? I'm not going to TVs right now. What are you doing? Like, more other girls were coming in because they were going through it more of a sexier diva look or whatever.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
One person just, didn't like me representing the knockout division.
Right. So it's like, okay, it's time.
Yeah. And I was like, fuck off. Yep.
So, all right. So you decided, did you tackle the meat truck business the same way you tackled wrestling, in the sense like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll just figure it out? Is that how you did it?
Yeah, I kind of cringe at my first few years of barbecuing in the food truck. Like,
okay,
I don't understand how I drove or pulled a 30-foot vintage Airstream cross country by myself. I don't know if I'd go back and do it again.
Yeah.
There's a way. I mean, I went to Sturgis, the bike rally. I think I went there twice. That's where I met my husband now. And then I went to Daytona Bike Week. I went to Galveston. I did, I was in the Daytona 500 thing. And it was just, I don't know what I was doing. I really don't. It's just like, but it'll work.
I'm a lot like you, Jess. I'm realizing we're a lot similar in that, like, when I started this podcast, for example, I didn't know how to use this microphone. I didn't know how to like edit and like make my screen look like the way it is now. Like, I don't know how to get this uploaded onto Spotify, and like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I don't know. I'm just gonna figure it out. Right? Yeah. You just do it. There's something I respect the hell out of you for doing that, and just really making something from nothing is what you did. You just decided
my little wrestling name ODB, it's just like, and that's what I was using the crap out of that, even if people didn't know who the hell I was, like ODB, they're like, oh, the rapper. I'm like, no, he's dead.
Yeah.
So it's like, but just making that meet, obviously the meet and greet, that's what we call it, and it's just like, it's always a meet and greet. Even if they see it and then they'll look it up, they're like, wow, hell of a story. This is really cool. Then they eat the food and then they're like, oh shit. Okay, you're for real.
Yeah, that's cool. So how long did it take you, just like in wrestling, it took me a number of years before I started to feel like, oh, I know what I'm doing now. How long did it take you in the meat truck business to start to realize, like, oh, I think I got a grasp on this. I can make some money doing this?
About 4 years.
Yeah.
Actually, during 2020, during the shit show.
Really?
I got a brand new Mac Daddy food truck. I had a trailer before, and that was like running low. So then I got the Mac Daddy truck right when everything got shut. Literally, I drove it. I picked it up in Missouri, was driving it home. The radio goes on like, oh, the world's shutting down. Oh my God. Because I was wondering, every time I stopped at a gas station, people were buying cases of beer. And I'm like, well, shit, I better get some. I don't know what's going on. So get home and then get all my licenses, all that fun stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, this could be a good thing because no one can leave their home. So I'm like, I'm going to be the ice cream woman. So put on Facebook, who wants me to come to their neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. So I was doing, and that's when it really boomed, the ODB's meet and greet. And then after did that in Minnesota, and then winter came, and I was like, I want to go to Florida with this thing. So what do? I have someone tow my Airstream trailer. I'm driving the food truck cross country. Big mistake I'll never do again. get there, and then I do the food truck in Daytona, Tampa, Orlando. I went to the AEW show a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's when I reconnected with my husband now, because we were friends.
Yeah.
Reconnected, and then started getting more serious, and he quit his great job. And he's like, do you want to do this thing together? Want to do this food truck business together? And I'm like, sure. So then we shipped everything back to Minnesota, and he even told me, he's like, I will never move to Minnesota. Just letting you know this right now, because he's a Florida guy.
Okay.
Now look at us. He's shoveling snow.
Hey, it's true love. You know, it's a true love if he's willing to do that. Then you got the right guy.
You can start a business by yourself, but you can't make it grow. And then with him involved in it, now it's Big Al and ODB's meet and greet.
Yes,
It's been since 21, and now we have 2 trucks in Minnesota.
Right on.
And yeah, I really cringe in my earlier days of starting this damn thing. Like
right.
I'll see memories. I'm like, I don't even want to read that post. I really don't.
It's funny. It's just like wrestling, though, because wrestling's life is wrestling. Like your first few matches, you go back and watch your first matches. Like, oh my god, why? What was I doing? Like, what was I doing? Like, you know. But I think if there's anybody out there right now that's listening to this that has an idea, has something that they want to strive for, but they're too afraid to take that step, or they're too afraid to look back at that Facebook memory years from now and cringe. Like, you can't think about that. You just got to go for it.
Yeah. Just do it. I mean, but it's so weird when you're in that journey, like when you're in wrestling and stuff, trying to make it. That journey, though, is awesome at the time. Mm-hmm. It really was. Like, I mean, I got to start my food truck in Daytona Beach with Jimmy Hart.
Hell yeah.
Like, I got to bartend at his bar for like a year and hang out with Jimmy every morning, you know?
Wow.
And like, just the experiences I got to do in that journey. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was sure getting a lot of experiences in life. Like, it's just like, you got to take that. Like, people are so into like the comfort zone or making sure they have a check coming in. Like, I didn't have checks coming in. I was shit.
Yeah. There's something to that, Jess. I've said this on the show with some people, because you're like me in that. Like, I've never been someone that's chased security and safety. That's never been my goal with any of the businesses that I've been in. It's like, no, I'm chasing the passion of something that I want to do. That's what's driving me, is to just try to succeed. But I'm not doing a job just because I want to be safe and secure. If I did that, I would have been a school teacher, a full-time school teacher with a pension and all that stuff 20 years ago, right? I got offered a teaching job 20 years ago, and I'd be making a killing right now. I'd have my summers off. I'd be doing, I'd have my pension. I'd be close to collecting my pension right now. It's like, hell no, that's not what I want. That's not what I'm passionate about. I'll sacrifice security for, something that I'm passionate about any day of the week.
And I still too, I think we both still take risks till this day. Like, you're not done. Like, we're building this business. I'm like, we're just starting this thing, even it's growing, and we eventually want to have something bigger, and, you never know what can happen. Just keep,
Yeah. Well, that's awesome that Big Al is supporting you, and you found someone who's willing to come along for that risk. I've been very blessed. My wife, since day one, is like been willing to like, yep, awesome. I'll come on this crazy journey. I'm not, she knew what she was getting into, and she accepted it, and she's coming along for the ride. That's awesome that you found someone that's willing to come along for the ride with you on that.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah. So
I was worried there for a while.
What's that? You
getting worried there for a while. Find love in your 40s.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you did. And I can tell that you're so happy. And the other thing that you decided to throw yourself into and were willing to do, which I said at the top of our conversation that I'm jealous about, because this is something that I've been cooking in my mind for a while, and I think I'll do it eventually. And that's to write a book. You're the first TNA knockout to share your story in book form. So again, you're awesome. So anyone watching this on YouTube at my YouTube channel at Cody Dearden Podcast, you can see the cover of that. I'm gonna promote the hell of this for you too. I'll put it in my show notes, how to buy it. I'll put it all on the social media. Like, how did this come about, Jess? this opportunity?
Well, yeah, just like you, like I wanted to write a story, and I didn't want it to be a sad story because I don't have a sad story. I have a stop being a little bitch, be a dirty bitch in life story.
I love it.
And, of course, you know, we have a lot of good friends in this business, and I reached out to a good friend, Mick Foley, you know, bestseller. And I was in Florida at the time with my truck, and he was living in St. Augustine. And I said, hey, I would love to talk to you about something. I'll buy you dinner. So he comes with a food truck, hops on. He's like, yeah, what's up? I'm like, I want to write a book, and I need your help. Any guidance? And right away, he's like, oh, hell yeah. He's like, you have an awesome story. It'd be great. He's like, just don't do it for the money, because there's really not a lot of money in books. I'm like, trust me, I'm not even doing it for that. I'm like, I just want to have a book. I wanted to share, you know, if it helps even one person. And so he hooked me up with his publisher. He called him, and Kenny Casanova. He's like, hell yeah. He's like, yes, I'm going to work with ODB. So basically it took about a year, and because we were fast doing it. Like, he would call me twice a week, basically just interview, and he knew everything about me. Like, he went on, he's like, all right, what about this? Like, there's stuff I forgot about that he knew. Yeah. I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that. I'm like, yeah, let's leave that one out or something, you know, like, it's cool, because I told him right away, I was like, I want to start from the beginning, into childhood, all that, college, and then obviously the wrestling. But I don't want to bury anyone. I don't want, this is not my style.
Good for you.
And I don't, this is my book. And if I do have some words about you, you know, it'll be tasteful, you know, it'll be funny. It'll be nothing. Yeah. You know, I'm going to get in trouble in my book or nothing, but it's just because so many books out there, it's just like, oh God, poor guy or poor woman. Like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you talking about all this crap? It's just like, let's just have fun. Like, and also we did that great. The pictures are fun in here, some old pictures. And just, I mean, there's only one person I told to go F themselves, but so you'll have to read the book and figure out.
Yeah, there's a good teaser right there. Who does the one person ODB says go F yourself? You gotta go buy the book to find out who that is. Yeah. Well, good for you. One of the things that I love that you said that, because one of the things that I talk to youth about when I go and I speak, and just kind of a mantra that I try to live by when it can be difficult, is to focus on the positive rather than the negative. Yeah. And I love that you took that mantra when it came to writing your book, because that thing, you've created something that's going to live forever. That book, it's out there and it's forever. And you know, 20 years from now, if you all you did was throw shade and throw dirt,
that's like, you might be remembered. Yeah.
No, it's like, you don't want to be remembered for that. And you're like, and like, it's not a healthy, it's not a productive way to live your life. Is focusing on negative, because you're never gonna move forward and progress. If your focus is always on the negative things, you're gonna stay stuck where you are rather than being able to move forward. Yeah. And one thing you're doing right now to move forward, I'm noticing, because I'm following you on Instagram, Jess, that at the ODB BAM, is you've decided to kind of take ownership for not just your mental health, but your physical health. You're working your ass off right now. What's inspiring you in that journey right now, and continuing to work your ass off?
Oh boy. Well, mental health is very important to me. Especially like, you know, running businesses, being on social media, being in the wrestling, you know, world. And I always want to make sure that this is good. And then obviously physical appearance, because we've all been there. Like, I've been there, like up and down. Like, after I got out of wrestling, I don't need to wrestle or work out anymore. Ugh, drink beer. And it's just like, oh God, I gotta slow down here. So one of our good buddies, Brandon, I was like, I need you to train me. And he wasn't. If he's like, I don't train people anymore, because they own like protein shake shops and have their own stuff. And I'm like, God damn it. He's like, train me, please. And he's like, all right. So he trains me 3 days a week, and it's been since last August. Yeah. And it's great. Like, it's obviously it's a transformation. It's not going to happen overnight. Like, we all know that. Like, it's not a 30-day challenge, and it's not like, I still want to live a good lifestyle. I am going to I'm not going to eat chicken and tuna and white rice for the rest of my life. I'm going to maintain, like, if I want to have a beer, yes, I'm going to have a beer, but it better be a damn good beer, like
yeah,
kind of balance it. Like, I love food. I love good food,
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to make that balance, and then him kicking my ass. Like, he made me run a mile like a couple months ago. I posted that online.
Yeah.
And he didn't even give me a heads up. He's like, all right, he starts me up, the workouts start, but he's like, oh, that was the warm up. I'm like, okay. Then we do another set of something. Oh, yeah, that was the other warm up. All right, now here's the workout. And I'm like, what? He's like, we're going to run a mile. I'm going to see how long it takes you. I'm like, I haven't ran a mile since probably junior high.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I ran it it was like 9 minutes and 40 seconds. I ran that bitch.
Hell yeah.
So I've done it twice so far, but it's just up here. Like and he even says that, like, that's what I love about my trainer, Brandon, where we do have good talks, and it's all up here, and he's way into fitness, like way more than me. And he's all about all that. But it's just like, getting trained by someone, and then also, having good conversations. Like, we'll invite him and his wife over, and it's just a good group of people that, we have around, and it's, yeah. So, I'm not trying to be a fitness competitor or nothing, but.
Oh, no. It's funny because I think someone that's listening to this can learn from that. I mean, that's one thing that's always attracted me to physical fitness is it's all up here, like you said, pointing at your head. It's all about what's up here. And in order to achieve that goal, you're gonna be able to run that mile. Even you're going to be able to do it. The only thing that's going to stop you from running that mile is yourself, and maybe your brain telling you, no, you can't do that. That's what's going to stop you. It's not going to be your body that's going to quit. And it's the same for wrestling. It's the same for life. It's the same for fitness. It's the same for business. Like, the only thing that's going to stop you and Big Al from taking this thing to the next level is going to be yourselves kind of stopping you. It's as long as you keep your mind right in a positive space, focusing on the positive, surrounding yourself, like you just said, with the positive people, man, there's no limits to what you guys can do.
Right. Shit.
Yeah. Right on. I appreciate your time. I want to be respectful of your time, Jess. I really appreciate you, sitting down with me for this long and chatting with me and, letting everybody know kind of what you're doing and talking about this crazy life that you've led. But want to make sure that everybody, goes and buys this book. Is there anything that you want to plug? Like, tell everybody where they can find the book, where they can find what you're doing with the food truck, everything.
So go to my website, odbsmeetandgreet.com for the book. And then you can see obviously all about the food truck, our schedule. But I love social media. So it's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on TikTok too. So at the ODB BAM. I talk about everything. It's just, I'm real. No filters on this. Like,
yeah, that's great. All right. Well, we'll make sure that everybody goes and checks that out. Can I bother you for like a couple more minutes? One thing I like to do, because I'm a hustler like you, I'm trying to make a little bit of change in this podcast world. And one of the ways I do that is I have a Patreon website where my patrons go, they give me a little bit of coin, and then I give them some bonus stories and bonus content that they don't get for free on the free version. And I like to hop over onto my Patreon, give them a bonus story and give them a teaser and go, hey, my guest is going to give us a nice juicy little bonus story that the average civilian wouldn't believe. Can you stick around for another couple minutes, tell me some story just for my patrons, and we'll give them something juicy. We'll come up with something good. So Jess, thank you. I appreciate you. Before we hop over to the Patreon, just thanks for your time. You're the best.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Cody. Bam, bitch.
That's going to do it for another episode of Wrestling is Life is Wrestling with Cody Diener. And that's going to do it for part 2, the final installment of my conversation with ODB. Oh man, she's so awesome. And I said before even last week before part 1, I said some people have their preconceived notions about what ODB is really all about. They just think that she's this wild, crazy, flask drinking wild broad that just, goes bam and hits her breasts and just wild, wacky stuff. She does all of those things because she's awesome and she's a wrestling character and wrestling personality, but that's not all she is. There is a sweet, lovely, insightful, and in my opinion, very inspiring individual in Jessie Kresa, ODB. You can learn more about how inspiring and wonderful she is by getting her book. You heard us talking about it. The link to the book, it's all in the show notes. The link to if you want to bring her food truck to your area, you got like a big festival going on. She's a traveling businesswoman. That's what she's doing now. Big Al and ODB's meet and greet food truck. The link to that, all that's in the show notes, and you can hook up with ODB, bring her to your event. There's more than meets the eye with ODB. Go follow her on Instagram at the ODB BAM and all of her social media. She's also on TikTok. It's at the same thing. Again, in the show notes. She's just super inspiring, man. I've been keeping up. I've kept in touch with ODB over the years, and I follow her on her social media, and I'm inspired by the stuff that she puts up there. So you should too. Reconnect if you haven't been following her on social media. Reconnect with her and all the awesome stuff she's doing in her life. Like I said, at the ODB BAM on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And I'll have the link to her book and her meet and greet food truck company all in the show notes that you can support ODB, because I appreciate the fact that I don't just get to hawk all my stuff on this show and the stuff I'm doing. No, I want you to learn more about my guests and the things that they're doing in their life. So please go support the ODB BAM and everything she's doing. She's awesome. You learned that over the last 2 weeks, and you're going to learn about another awesome guest I'm going to have starting next week. Now, I'm not going to say who it is, but you're going to find out if you follow my social media at Cody Diener. I'll be announcing that and putting that conversation up early and ad-free over on my patreon.com/Cody Diener. You can get the full conversation early and ad-free. Become a patron, support me and what I'm doing with the show at patreon.com/Cody Diener. Support my sponsors, Rest When Dead Clothing and CEOFit.ca. Get yourself a cameo over at cameo.com/Cody Diener for you or a loved one. Get yourself the pro wrestling tees store that I've got. Get yourself a Wrestling is Life is Wrestling with Cody Diener logo t-shirt. ProWrestlingTees.com/Cody Diener. Bring me to your indie show. Book Cody at CodyDiener.com is the email, or bring me to your school or youth event by going to ChrisGraySpeaks.com. That's Gray with an A, ChrisGraySpeaks.com, and you can learn more what I'm doing in the speaking world. What I do there is I just share stories, just like we've done the last 2 weeks with ODB. We share stories and we try to pull some life lessons from that journey out of it to help you as my listeners, because this isn't just a wrestling podcast. What is this? It's a life podcast, and I'm bringing life lessons to my listeners. And for those of you that have been with me since day one of this project, thank you. This is a one-man band here. Like I'm recording this right now, and then I'm going to edit it as part of the show. The logo design, I did it. The intros, the outros, the producing, the theme song, I wrote it and performed it. It's just me. And sometimes this gets kind of like, I guess, slugging along the way, I guess is the right word. Just putting this together each and every week. Sometimes it's like, oh man, why do I do this? And then I get feedback from you, my fans, about how much these conversations mean to you and how they've helped you. And I'm like, that's why I do it. That right there is why I'm doing this. And am I making a ton of money? No. I have some awesome sponsors that are helping support me. I have some awesome patrons over at patreon.com/Cody Diener that are supporting me. But man, I'm not making a killing doing this financially, but I mean, mentally, psychologically, this podcast helps me a lot because I get to learn from my guests, and I know that it's making a difference in my fans and my supporters that are listening to this. So I appreciate you so much. I just want you to know that When we come back next week, I'm going to be giving you more of the same, some more life lessons, some more awesome content, because that's what I want to make sure that I do each and every week. If there's a guest or somebody that you want to have on this show, hit me up at Cody Diener. Let me know who you want me to bring on this show, because it doesn't matter who I bring on the show. We're always going to learn the same lesson. And what is that? Well, it's that wrestling is life. Is wrestling. We'll see you next week, guys.
Wrestling is life. Wrestling is life. Wrestling is life. Is wrestling.